brothers and sisters, this question, why does Allah create us when He knows that some of us are going to go to hellfire? To answer that question, first let's look at the problem. The problem is people think that if I have been created by Allah and I am going to do certain bad actions, and those bad actions Allah knows. He knew it before I was even born. He knew I was going to do them. And then after that I carry on doing the bad actions, and then I die, then I get resurrected, then I get sent to hellfire. Now, people question, they say, how fair is that? How fair is that Allah knew this was all going to happen and He still allowed it, and He did it, you know, the servant did it, and in the end the servant ends up in hellfire? How is it fair? The first and foremost thing, brothers and sisters, is that there's a difference between Allah knowing something and Allah decreeing something. When Allah knows something's going to happen, He knows it's going to happen. He knows everything that's going to happen, that's fine. But if He decrees something, that means He made it happen. That means there was no choice except that that was going to happen. So, for example, when I'm in this world and I am going along my life, when I'm doing this, then Allah Azza wa Jal has given me some free will and He hasn't given me some free will. Some things Allah has absolutely fixed and I've got no choice, but those things are going to happen. And other things Allah has given me a choice and I've got a free will. Those things that I've got a free will in, and I decide to do something or not to do something, I'm going to be questioned on the Day of Judgment for those things. But the things that Allah made me do and it was going to happen no matter what, then of course in our minds right now it's unfair that those things Allah made me do, and then He's going to question me and say, why did you do it? Okay, which are the things in our lives that we've got free will, where we've got free will, and which are the things we don't have free will? We don't know. We will only find out on the Day of Judgment about those things. There are certain things that we've got no say in, and there are certain things we have got a say in. We've got a way to change things. So, for example, somebody came to Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu and he said, how much free will have you got compared to how much Allah has determined for us? And he said, stand up on one leg. So the man stood up on one leg. He said, now while that one leg is in the air, lift the other one. He said, I can't. He said, that's your answer. Allah has given you free will to lift one leg up, while one leg up in the air without any support for that one leg. Of course, there's another leg that's supporting your body, but you can't lift both of your legs up at the same time. That's the decreeing part. Allah hasn't given you free will in that. The first part, Allah has given you free will in that. Now, what I want to say to you, brothers, is yes, there is a thing between free will and what Allah has decreed. But let's look at it another way. This, inshallah, should answer the question. What most people do is, most people think from a rational world, from this world here right now, and they say, look, I'm a human being, I was made to come in this world, Allah made me, Allah knew everything that's going to happen, Allah made me do certain things, and then I get up on the Day of Judgment, and then I'm thrown into hellfire. It's not fair. Okay, that wasn't fair. Or certain people, they ended up on the Day of Judgment, they didn't accept Islam, whatever else happened, and then they go to hellfire for a very, 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 very long time. That's not fair. That's what people say. Yes or no, guys? That's what people say. Now, let's look at it backwards. To understand this, to get this to make sense, you have to look backwards. We're saying from this world, by projecting to the next world, we're saying things don't look fair. Allah says to us, project it from the akhirah to the dunya. How do you do that? Allah said in the Quran, La dhulma al-yawm, there is no oppression today about the Day of Judgment. Allah has said about the Day of Judgment, Al-yawma la tudhlamu nafsun shay'a. Today no soul shall be oppressed by even the least in any matter. Allah said there's no oppression on the Day of Judgment. That means that everything on the Day of Judgment is going to be fair. It's going to be absolutely fair. Everyone who ends up on the Day of Judgment will say everything Allah did was fair. That's how you look backwards. So now something's gone wrong in the way we've seen it from this world to the next world, instead of seeing what Allah is saying on the Day of Judgment. So let's look at a quotation of somebody on the Day of Judgment. On the Day of Judgment, certain people will say, who will go to hellfire, they will say, Rabbana, O our Lord, Absarna, we've seen everything. Sami'na, we've heard everything. Fa'atarafna bidhnubina, we've admitted that we were at fault. Farji'na, just send us back. Na'mal salihan inna muqinun, we will do good actions. We are absolutely convinced that everything was fine. And hear their words. Allah is telling us the words of the people on the Day of Judgment. In fact, people in hellfire will say that, they won't say, nobody on the Day of Judgment, nobody in hellfire, even the people at the time of death don't say, Allah, it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair. You made us do it, and then now you're telling us that we're going to go to hellfire. It wasn't fair. You knew we were going to do this, and now you're going to do this. It's not fair. La ilaha illallah, my friends, this is not how it works. Yes, Allah knew the actions that we're going to do, but He didn't make us do every single action where we've got no free will. Yes, we did actions, and Allah said in the Holy Quran, وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ, that whatever you will, Allah has got a will as well for that action. What does that mean? That means that you cannot do any action without Allah giving the permission for that action to actually happen. So an example of that is, you want to eat some food, you're trying to eat the food. There is an angel here that asks, should I allow the food to go inside? You can't swallow the food unless Allah gives you permission to swallow the food. That's fine. But you wanted to eat it, so you made the intention to eat it, you ate it. Just because Allah gave permission to the angel to open the right pipe so that your food goes inside your stomach, doesn't mean that it was His fault that you ate haram. Whether you chose haram food or halal food was your business. It was you that made that choice. You ate that. Yes, Allah's will was whenever you want to eat, if He wants to stop you, He can stop you. If He wants to stop you from eating, or if He wants to stop you from it going through your throat, He can do that. But Allah Azza wa Jalla is not going to just stop anyone because we are in an examination hall. Now let me give you one last scenario to understand this question. If I say to you guys, what's 2 plus 2? What's the answer? What's 2 plus 2? 4. Now, if I say to you, what's 2 plus blank equals 4? What's in the blank? 2. Okay? You all got that, yeah? If I say to you, blank plus blank equals 4, what's the answer? Is it 2 plus 2? It could be 2 plus 2. It could be 3 plus 1. It could be 1 plus 3. And it could be 4 plus 0. Or it could be 0 plus 4. Or it could be minus 1 plus 5. Or 5 plus minus 1. Or it could be minus 2 plus 6. Or 6 plus minus 2. You understand that? Yeah? It gets a bit, yeah? You got blanks there. Yes, you got a 4. Just because you got a 4, you're making an absolute conclusion that what is 2 plus 2? Just because you always saw 2 plus 2? And now you're seeing 2 plus blank? Well, yeah, we know that's 2. Now we're saying blank plus blank equals 4. You're just going to say 2 plus 2? You can't. Anyone who's done maths, you can't. Anyone who's done maths knows that you can't do that. So what's happening here is that we say, we've been born here, I'm a human being, Allah gave me, He made me do certain things, He knew everything that's going to happen, I'll end up on the Day of Judgment, and then I'll go to hellfire. It's not fair. That's like saying blank plus blank equals 4. It's not fair. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. You're saying it's not fair by saying it's 4. Imagine 4 means it's not fair. And 5 means it is fair. Allah is saying to us right now, I've already declared to you on the Day of Judgment, everything's going to work out to be fair. Everything. Everyone on the Day of Judgment, all the human beings, all the jinns will say everything was fair. Now, what's happening is we are assuming things where there are blanks and we're filling them in. What does that mean? That means some people will have a genuine excuse for the Day of Judgment. We don't even know about that. And we're just basically saying that it's not fair. Some people might turn up on the Day of Judgment and they'll say, I wasn't even told about Islam. And if Allah decides that He wants to take them to Jannah, we know from our records that Allah could send them to Jannah. If some people turn up on the Day of Judgment and Allah wants to have mercy on them, just mercy and bounty on them, that's another thing we haven't taken equation for. He just wants to let them off. Just say, go to Jannah. There are hundreds of verses and ahadith that tell us about Allah's mercy. That there's no limit to Allah's mercy. We haven't taken that into account. We haven't taken into account the fact that you had strong genes of a certain type, and Allah might be lenient because those strong genes, whether Allah might not be lenient, we don't know. The thing is, we don't know. We are assuming. So the thing is, we've got to work backwards. How you work backwards is, if you say we're absolutely certain that it's going to be, the answer is equals. After the equals means it is going to be fair. So there's a 5 there. It's fair, 5. And then before that, we saying 2 plus 2. We're saying, no, it's got to be 2 plus 2. There was a blank plus blank, and it was an equals 5. And we said, no, it's got to be 2 plus 2. It's got to be 2 plus 2 equals 5. Look, it's not fair. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Allah could have so many different parts there that He could fill those blanks in. And we don't even know what is going to be the case on the Day of Judgment. How many blanks? And with Allah Azza wa Jal, you know what? There are so many things to fill in. Where you was born, how you was brought up, who are your friends, your genes inside you, your DNA, how Allah created you with your emotions, how strong your emotions were, how weak your emotions were, who you met, what you did, what kind of things you went through in life. All these things are numbers. It's like a 2 plus 1 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1 plus 5. And there's so many blanks, and we haven't even taken any of that. And then there's Allah's mercy, Allah's bounty, Allah is the avenger. He can take you to task. All these things we don't know. And the equal sign after that, we say it's not fair. My friend, just stop it, okay? You haven't even seen the Day of Judgment. You haven't even gone to the Day of Judgment. And you're sitting here taking a shaitan's waswasa and an injection inside you, and you're saying it's not fair. Everything is fair. Allah said that. Now you work backwards. Something you don't know in your equation, in your little head, your limited head, you don't know, you can't work out, I can't work out. And because of that, we're reaching conclusions. And I'm saying to you, brother and sister, forget it, leave it, just have your iman and have your faith that it is all fair. When Allah has said in the Quran, there is no dhulm, no oppression, that means there is fairness, absolute fairness on the Day of Judgment. How Allah will reach that, we don't know. There could be non-Muslims on the Day of Judgment who get up, and Allah may forgive some of them because of them not having Islam come to them, or because of a distorted Islam. Who knows? I don't know, you don't know, we don't know. Yes, we do say in our books of Aqidah that they should have gone and find out about Islam. But how do you know what Allah might do or might not do with some of them? Yes, some of them will go towards hellfire. Some Muslims will go towards hellfire. But when they get there, every person in hellfire says, I admit to my wrong. And Allah has described that in the Quran. So that's final. May Allah Azza wa Jal save us from this waswasa. May Allah Azza wa Jal make us of those people who have our faith in this, and we know everything's going to be fair. So why did Allah create us? And how do we end up in hellfire? We leave that to Allah. All we know, we've got to do good actions until inshallah, bi'idhnillah, we reach the Day of Judgment, and everything will be fair then. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum.